So officially wanted to say thank you to everybody in the community for coming out to our AMA with Gravitron. So this one launched on December the 6th, very small starting cap here, only 2.5K. All-time high with the token was around 700,000, currently sitting in that 5 to 550 range, which is great to see. The chart has seen some nice movement, over the last week. So again, volume on this because of their taxes is never a bad thing. The tokenomics side of things, 1 billion circulating supply. And as I mentioned, 2% buy tax, 2% sell tax, as well as a 2% transfer tax here. Now, I like the concept and the underlying theme that I've really noticed doing my research is all about community engagement and community building, which, I mean, here at Caesars, if you haven't really spent much time around it, the word community will definitely come out in this AMA about 5 to 10 times. And that's been our focus over the last 2.5, 3 years is, we've undertaken this journey to build out our community. But yeah, no, what I really like here is that you guys are really focused on that community building aspect. A couple different utilities already live with your whale tracker as well as your swapped app. And I know your developer tracker is on the way, which, I'm really excited about that too. Couple interesting components on both sides, both good and bad developers that you'll be able to kind of watch with that. So I think a lot of value there. The staking is kind of the aspect as well. As you mentioned, Shadow can break that down. That really ties this one together and brings a lot of the benefits of how people can participate within the ecosystem through your polling, as well as through the revenue sharing aspect. So, for me, love that you guys are trying to take a crack at, changing the way staking's been done. Sustainability is always a big, component of that. So I'm, really excited on the vision that you guys are bringing to this one. And as I said, a couple different components that we'll break down, including their Telegram deployer, which, from all the, what I've heard about it, it's kind of comparable to what you would think about a WordPress for the blockchain. So I'll keep it high level on that with my introduction. And, for me, the vision here, really unique. Love the focus on community building. I know it's still early, less than a month old, and that's kind of, baby steps, when you're talking about a long-term goal or utility project. So happy to see the success and the progression you've made so far. Community is forming nicely. Make sure you guys have the light paper open alongside this AMA. Again, there's a lot of technical stuff that we're going to be talking about, so it's just a little bit easier to follow. And without further ado, I will hand the mic over to the team here from Gravitron, and that is Crypto Igniter and Shadow. So thanks, guys, for being here, and the floor is yours.
Wow, that was a great introduction, Maurice. Thank you very much. And I know both Shadow and I are very excited to be doing this AMA with yourself and the rest of your community that's formed over the last, I'd say, few years at this point. So I'll get into this. We'll keep it a little bit light to start, just so that yourself, Maurice, you can kind of coast us through some of the questions that you feel are most important to cover, and that we're not going outside of our time here, to keep that respectful for everybody listening.
Yeah, so the one thing I'll say before you jump in is, I know they're typically scheduled for an hour. I will say you guys got a lot of information. Don't hesitate if we go into like that 90-minute range. I am a longer AMA host. Typically, I've run AMAs that have gone like 3 hours and 15 minutes on one project. So again, we have been trying to push only one AMA a day for a reason, because of the fact that I want to make sure that the projects get the proper exposure leading up, and then we don't have any dilution of maybe the discussion afterwards during the day. So if we run over, don't worry. Again, just make sure that you guys can take your time. No pressure. We'll walk through the the ecosystem that you're trying to build up. It'll be a fun conversation. I always try and work in a few questions that get sent in from the audience to my admin. So again, time today, we'll typically go a little bit long, and that is a-okay in my book. So don't even worry about that.
All right. Well, then people should grab some popcorn. It's Friday afternoon.
Love it. Let's go.
So Shadow and I, we've known each other in we'll call it real life, since we're still talking that way with the internet. For the better part of 15 to 20 years, we've been in the internet space, building many different tech solutions in advertising and publishing specifically. We have a very experienced background, a very uncommon background, tied to our experience in the arbitrage world with publishing and advertising. We know how to build utilities, widgets, gadgets, sites, content, and publish out to the world while attracting advertisers back in and arbitraging the cost of promoting that content or those installs or affiliate campaigns and arbitraging the revenue. So our passion for that industry has always remained, and we continue today building many different advertising technology tools. And I'd say that's kind of our bread and butter. In 2000 and I'd say 17 or 18, we were more interested coming into the crypto scene. I think we missed the boat, both of us, having seen many of our developers in past companies mining Bitcoin early on when we just kind of looked at them weird. And then they would put servers into our ceilings and we said, wait a minute, there's something bigger going on here. So we got involved and started our passion down the crypto path. Which held us into the BSC scene, mainly the BNB BSC scene, all the way through Safe Moon and some of those great projects that lasted for some time. And then we had also dabbled in developing many utilities at that point in time for different blockchains, and mainly for ourselves. We never had intended to publish any utilities. We were just very interested programmers in terms of what crypto was doing, what it was all about, and what we could build with it. So over the last couple of years, we've had many of these items sitting around collecting dust. And over the past couple of months, we've, I'd say, reignited our interest in crypto, having seen the ETH, chain come back with good volume, good strength. It seemed like the bear market was kind of on its way out, and the bulls were coming back in, and it got us interested again. Obviously, becoming a part of the Caesars private group and seeing what was going on in the space, obviously that's the best place to get the skinny on exactly what's going on. So the first place we went to was that private group, hence many of you are from there. And we followed along with what projects were doing, what they were coming out with, why they were coming out with it. It was heavily based on Elon narratives, meta narratives, projects with very little substance. And then we started seeing the exact same cycle happening that we saw in 2021. It's going to go for a few months. Everyone's there. Everyone's pumped. We can actually get to the top. It's a mountain we're climbing. And then the overwhelming power of bad developers, money, greed, and hidden tricks behind the scenes started to flourish again. And I think the last straw for us was watching Zeta kind of go down and out after putting up such a strong presentation and really, I'd say, fooling a good 90% of the folks who were following that project who had not been looking too closely. And why would you otherwise, right? At that point in time, I turned to Shadow. I said, you know what? We had this project that was coming out called Gravitron, obviously this one here, and it was tied into the AWS Amazon news narrative of the Graviton 4 processing chip, as well as the Trainium 2 LLM technology for their AI. So we thought we'd get into the scene and get our hands working again and seeing what it's like to host a reputable project just on the meta narrative. Once we launched that, during that time, we saw Zeta take that fall, and it kind of put us in a spot which we felt responsible to not just sit back and have another project that contained no substance, no narrative, given that we were sitting on a bunch of utilities that we had programmed over the past couple of years. We kind of stepped back and we said, you know what, let's put this together. We know the path we need to follow. Telegram is a 700 million person user base right now, and we're heading towards 1 billion. That market is very lucrative, and right now the advertising systems, the ad networks, I mean, many of you are familiar with Shield trending and their staking program. It's very similar, a very similar model. However, we know how to get mass adoption around publishing widgets and utilities into these audiences and tapping into that customer acquisition model. So that's really our forte. So we thought we'd bring back from the dead, so to speak, all of the utilities and pieces that we've built, including staking, including some of the bots that are out there, and bringing them out and putting up a roadmap that said, hey, here's what we're going to do. There's going to be utilities. We're going to have a staking system come into place. We're going to have a play to earn system come into place as well. And then we'll connect it all with an ad network. We'll publish this out and get mass adoption through a deployer like a WordPress plugin that would deploy to a Telegram channel, and somebody who owns a channel that wants to deploy the best items, utilities, games for their channel can do so very quickly, and that's where we garnish the mass adoption. So our approach to this, just to keep this part light, we're not looking to reinvent the wheel. We're not looking to build brand new games. We're not looking to take on massive initiatives with building new tech. We believe there's a lot of open source out there that's very good, very credible. We believe there's a very strong marketplace for doing acquisitions with games and owning the titles ourselves instead of buying them. And we believe that acquiring certain partnerships with their technology is a faster path for us to deploy and arbitrage the market. We don't wait for organic growth. We wait to have our utilities ready, and then we buy users and make sure the utilities are sticky. So we're not waiting for organic growth at this point. We can build our targets and hit those targets knowing that we can spend X and make Y. That's our model with this. So I'll leave it there for the time being. Just that's a really quick I'd say overview as to where we came from, why this project started, why it exists today, and it kind of gives you a little insight as to the tasks we're taking on won't be too big. We're taking on tasks that are very well established, and we're going to be tweaking and utilizing those open source kits in a way that will benefit the community. And that's why we've really relied on the staking and polling tech that is proprietary. That's a custom system that we've built. Shadow's put a lot of work into that. And that will really drive forward the thought process and the development cycle that we should be employing, taking those concepts and those ideas direct from the community and applying them to our utilities to make sure they're the most useful ones possible, and not spending weeks and months at a time trying to think we know what's best. We're going to put out there the thought process, get that feedback, return to us, and we'll deliver as expected. So we feel that model will keep the community in line with our direction of development, and it will allow us to accomplish the goals we're setting out to accomplish, ultimately to get the publishing arbitrage and advertising components returning a healthy stake reward for the stakers and the holders of Gravitron.
No, I appreciate it. Great introduction, Igniter. Really detailed, and again, clearly shows you have a depth of knowledge in the space and what you guys are doing with your prior development. And just to clarify, now you mentioned that you guys had built out some previous utilities and you know, tools to use more so for yourself and maybe groups of friends and whatnot. But nothing has ever been really linked to a token, correct? In the past, it's just more so been tech that's been built out and utilized.
That's right. Yep. We were always very interested just building tech for ourselves to utilize for
Yeah, so
ourselves.
I just wanted to ask, like, what has it been like to go from the process of just a builder who's in it for the love of building to going to this now having, you know, I don't want to call it weight, but you know, some people will look at it like it is a bit more stressful because there's now money involved. But what, you know, from your end, from the communities and with Shadow involved, what have you guys felt like the transition going from just builders to now those trying to not only build, but run and manage a community with, you know, a chart involved?
Yeah, so we've got some pretty healthy community members. I'll be honest, we haven't had to focus a lot of our time on the community. It's been very self-sufficient, I'd say. There's a lot of good community folks, a part of Gravitron, that have really stuck by our side. So that part's nice. And just to touch base on the overwhelming, I'd say, task list, that's really why we look at taking and acquiring products. We've got a lot of utilities built ourselves, but there's the open source community with building utilities and bots is very strong out there. So our position is taking things that are already built, so that we're just tweaking and creating exactly what we need for our community to use them the most effective way. We're not building things from scratch. So I don't think there's a heavy weight on us. It's more or less just going through the process of saying, hey, here are the ideas through our polls and staking. We get those ideas back. The past 3 weeks, we've been setting up the frameworks, all the development frameworks and all the code bases for everything on our roadmap. So we're just layering over top at this point. We're not redeveloping or reintroducing something that hasn't been created already. We're just basically taking feedback and introducing it within our frameworks already.
No, that's a great response. And, um, you know, it just speaks, I think, to somebody who's watched the space, somebody who's seen maybe or identified a gap, right, in how projects and communities are operated. And the one thing I always say to my friends and people from, the real life who know my business background and whatnot, when they ask me like, why did you move into crypto? I'm like, dude, I love it because it's untapped, right? There's not a lot of traditional business principles and stuff that are always applied, right? And sometimes when you bring in that knowledge, although maybe to you and I, it seems fairly simplistic, it can catch on and really take off. So yeah, no, it just seems like you have a good confidence to you, and I think that's needed in a founder or somebody looking to run a project. So great answer to that.
Most projects fail because they can't afford their roadmap. We'll put it that way, right? I mean, development to hire developers, to hire, marketers, to hire, it gets very expensive. So that's why, 98% of these things will fall. Um, our expectations and our needs are what the community wants. So Shadow and I don't have a responsibility to, take on this project. That was not our intention here. So all of the dollars, all of the project, it's going right back into the community's focus. And I think that's what will really keep this project nimble, and it will allow us to thrive because we don't have the expenses most projects would normally have.
Oh, and again, the setup and the planning that it seems like that's gone into this, you need to take that time and step back, and having some experience from, running businesses or being part of successful entities in the real world, that experience sometimes gets overlooked, right? So, it's going to be exciting to watch how you guys can grow this, and it's still really early, being less than a month old. So for me, I don't know if you wanted to transition to more of the utility conversation, starting with the Telegram suite that you guys are building out with your bots, or if you wanted to start with the staking protocol and your different tiers that are involved with that, because I know the two go, like the staking is kind of the driver and how you guys get, I guess, participation in the ecosystem, and so I don't know how you want to kind of start it. There's just a couple of different
Yeah,
ways, but the
yeah.
two
So I
play
can
off of
I
one
can
another.
I'll just touch on the utilities lightly. Our utilities right now, it's everything we're doing is a MVP, minimal viable product, and a proof of concept to come out with. So, like I said, we were laying the groundwork and frameworks for all utilities. So the whale tracker was a very simple one to come out with first. It's tracking ETH and BSC. I've also hooked up Solana and Matic. We've had some other comments to put other ones in there. And essentially what it's just doing is looking for transactions on a set of wallets and monitoring those transactions for in and out transfers. What we want to do is get a list of items that are really meaningful from the community, and then just simply apply those. We're already hooked into ETH Scan, we're already hooked into BSC Scan, all those APIs. We've put up backing to make sure we've got all the pro licenses opened up, so we have the full depth of data coming through. We're going to simply just start to take that feedback and start to put them into our utilities. So today they're very light, very basic, but we're hoping in the new year, as these polls start to close out, that's when we're going to start to pack in the features that people will really find useful, starting to take those signals and making them actionable, so we can, people can start sniping with them, or DCAing on their positions. So there's different items that we want to look at, but the utilities are pretty light today, just to put that out there. But the intention will be very, very fast to come up and build some great pieces into them. I think Shadow, he'll go through a demo right now with how staking and the polls work, and then that will kind of give you guys an idea as to how we start the process with all of
Yeah,
our
just a
utilities,
quick
how we build
question
out.
on the wallet tracker. And again, if you want to defer until after the presentation from Shadow, because it maybe makes more sense to work it in then, that's okay with me. But I was curious, like, where is like what type of APIs are you using? Like, where are you getting the data from on the wallet tracker? Is it just simple, gathering of information via the Etherscan? Maybe if you guys have an automated
That's
program
right.
that's running, or yeah, just kind of curious.
That's right. Yep. We're looking for any real-time transactions. We're powered on the Graviton 4 processorship with AWS, so very fast. But we're scanning the APIs through Etherscan, BSC Scan, and simply transacting back those transactions. We'll look at doing a node-based version maybe later on to get it a little bit quicker, but for now it's just scanning and taking those inputs back and outputting them for us.
Yeah, no, I was just, it makes sense. I mean, it's a simple, and it's a bit more cost effective than maybe paying some of these large scale providers in the early stages of a project. So that makes sense. Now, from your, I guess, testing, how real time or how comparative would, the information that you guys are gathering be to, a paid service, like maybe one of the top providers in the space, from a metrics standpoint, like just like time, how many wallets are you able to gather just because of the manual processing involved with that?
Yeah, so essentially what will happen is you will be able to import this wallet tracker onto your own groups and chats. Right now, we're just dumping in a group of wallets ourselves to track, just to show the demonstration of how it works. But you'll be able to kind of curate your own wallet list to track, and it'll do that. In terms of benchmarking, we'll have to provide an update with benchmarking. We haven't gone through the large paid services. We haven't gone through BitQuery or any of those services to start to tie in benchmarking, but it's likely delayed by some good amount of seconds right now. That's for sure.
It's okay because, like you said, it's all about releasing a product that you show can work and then tailoring it to, scale it to be to the level that you guys want in the future, right? It's starting somewhere and growing. Everywhere has, every company, product, anything that's ever been put into this, world started somewhere with an idea before it became like that maybe overnight success that it was at some point. So, really not I like that answer, and I'll throw it back to Shadow there so he can jump into the staking presentation.
Yeah, so basically we try to do, implement an interface that everyone will use, will be able to use actually. So the goal here is just to be able to stake your tokens in a couple of clicks. So you just hit like the unlock button, then you can connect your wallet. You basically approve the number of tokens that you want. Obviously, I don't have any tokens in that demonstration wallet, so I won't be able to approve it. But once you approve, then the button just becomes something named stake, which basically sends your tokens back to our staking contract. And once it's done, you can get your tokens involved um, uh, directly in there. Sorry, I was reading what Crypto Insider asked. So you can see when you hover the mouse over the mechanism, how much the bounty is. We have two mechanisms right now that are implemented, which is either proportional. So basically, this gives you like a proportion of the whole pool that is given like based on the amount of tokens that you stake, or it can be a lottery as well, which is basically a random number. We're not using VRF right now, which is a variable uh, a random number, but that is a project for later on as well. And yeah, basically like you just click on the answer that you want to vote for, and you see the total amount of voting power that was used for each of the option. And you can see later on pools that have ended as well. So I think that this is pretty much it.
I know you guys have the different tiers. What what's required right now within that? Like, is it fluctuating or is it more of a locked amount? Like, and what I mean by that is because it's based on tokens. If the price goes up, 10x from now, is it going to cost you 10 times as much to stake the minimum requirement to get into like tier 2 versus tier 1? Or would it be static in the sense that it's not going to change and shift based on price fluctuations?
Yeah, well, right now, I think that Igniter like explained the fact that we're most in an MVP version of what the staking will be. If you know, like the small important note here, our transfer tax is something that we want to get rid of for our staking users, but this is not something which is possible right now with our contract because this is renounced, and all of the transfer are being taxed 2%. So my example that I gave at some point, like on our channel, was that like if a whale would be to stake like a huge amount of tokens, let's say 10 millions, it will be taxed 2% of it, which is kind of a deal breaker when it comes to like staking a large amount of tokens. So what we're trying to do here is just to in the near future just exclude all of this set of contract from tax from or current tokenomics. Now, when you mention like the tier, this is not something that we implement in, at this point. But again, this was an MVP, so we just wanted like to test with the community, like our ability to have, let's say, given amount of tokens locked, which will give like some kind of voting power over the project, But later on, we plan to implement new tier that will allow the user to have more or less token like locked in our staking. As you suggest, based on the value, it's always like relevant, I think, to have more voting power based on the lock time that you will have implemented. Sorry if my kids are being noisy in the background. I'm a dad at home as well, so but yeah, so eventually I think that we'll have the whole staking model implemented in the next couple of weeks, which will allow like all of the tier as you mentioned. And I mean, whether or not like our user wants to risk an amount of time being locked, because like if you don't have to buy back your token, it's just like that you put trust in the community, and like based on the trust you have some kind of time commitment that acts as I'd say a lever based on the value that you want to be locked. So if that makes sense.
That does for me. And what types of, just a quick question within the community polling, what types of ideas or suggestions, discussion topics have come up so far, as you guys have kind of had that rolled out?
There's been a lot. So we've had to take a step back to organize kind of a spreadsheet and break up different categories. And then we'll start to release those categories as polls and start to break down the items inside. We just put up a couple of silly ones for now, just to, like you said, we launched on December 6th, plus we've had holidays, right? So to get all of this stuff up, new sites, platforms, staking, we've just put up, like Shadow was saying, MVP stuff that can kind of fill it for now. But yeah, we're looking at this spreadsheet now with various categories. We've been taking notes from many of the comments coming through the Telegram channel over the past week and a half now. So we'll consolidate those and start putting them into proper polls, and they'll be itemized for utilities, marketing, all different areas of this project, and then we can just organize those one by one. I think that's the easiest way to keep everything on schedule. The community will know what our plan is, and when we put up a realistic date, we're going to hit it, right? Shadow and I don't make targets that aren't realistic. We always put in some slack time as well. So we'll just take things, kind of bite-sized items, and make sure we've got the smallest ones, but the most impactful ones put up first for the community to vote on.
Awesome. Now, within some of the tech that you guys have maybe built previously, or you guys may look to build out for this, are you going to centralize everything in a hub where somebody could go in, download, or maybe just log into their Gravitron profile, and then within the hub that you guys build out, they can click on their staking and they can see that, then they can go into the polls that are currently active and they can see where the percentages are sitting at on live polls, and maybe stuff that's upcoming in the future, and that way they can track and set reminders on topics that are maybe more important to them, right? So yeah, trying to figure out what you guys are sticking on the user experience subject that you guys are really big on, in the project and in the ecosystem. What are you doing to just make it easier for people to go into one place and, I guess, reduce their click-throughs in that process?
Yeah, for sure. So that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. So there's kind of two parts to that. One, we're going to use the Gravitron Labs platform. That'll be kind of our central hub for any of the Web3 DApp stuff. People really aren't comfortable entering wallet addresses and secure information and stuff in Telegram. So we've taken a bit of a different approach to that right now. There's two kind of components, two hubs. One is Telegram, and one will be the Gravitron Labs platform. Telegram, in terms of that hub, and to briefly touch on how the deployer works, it'll be just like that. It'll contain our best utilities, our best games, anything that needs to be activated from within Telegram and to be used within a Telegram in-app browser will be packaged under that deployer/hub, if that is clear. And then users will be able to activate, monitor, build notifications, everything under that package there. Same with our labs. We'll have, as you can see here with the user experience side, when folks connect and they go on, they can see the progress. They can see where things are at with the polls, when they're ending, how the votes are going. So they can keep track and keep progress of that. We can add notifications in-app or in-browser messaging systems, things like that later on. But those are all, again, pieces that we would have to spend time doing. So we want to make sure that we've got all of these items out into polls so that everyone tells us what the most important items are, and Shadow and I aren't building things that are meaningless to folks. But those would be the two hubs that we would focus on, and for those two different purposes. Like our play to earn gaming, that doesn't need to live in our web browser hub. We want that to exist in Telegram, and we want that to be a very big viral and sharing hub that we'll access through multiplayer play to earn. We've developed an API that does all the token distribution way past. Back in the day, we've built a few games, Unity games, and we connected them way before all the SDKs were around to do Web3 with them. So we're going to bring that back in, but we don't want to make that a browser experience. We want to keep that in Telegram for many different reasons. So does that give you kind of a clear idea of why we would pick two different hubs to focus on?
No, it does, and I guess for those users who are maybe more comfortable with the Web 2 side of things and maybe not a traditional Telegram user, like what's that process going to be like so that you can help onboard people to really get the full experience, within, the Gravitron ecosystem?
Yeah, so we'll have everything still on the website. It'll be all accessible. It won't be the ultimate experience if you're doing play to earn gaming on our website. It'll be more immersive in Telegram. We're going to be setting high scores to the channel. We'll be doing live notifications. It'll be more gamified in Telegram than on our web. But if somebody's not comfortable to be in there, they're more used to being on the web, they'll find everything we have on the web. All the utilities will be there. They'll be linked. There'll be instructions, guides, downloads, videos, walkthroughs. We'll have all of that on the web. I think that's the best place to present that amount of information. So we'll have it all on our our G Labs platform that you're looking at here on the shared screen.
Perfect. Now, I like that you guys are trying to bring that component of like the P2E into it. How much of this type of utility would you guys look to undertake as builders, or would this be like the venture that you guys really push on, like that outsourcing community build side? Like that's the first question I wanted to ask on the P2E side of that.
So we already have like I said, we already have our frameworks built. We have an API that, other game developers at some point could license from us, or if we're nice guys, we can help out and give to them. But it handles all of the token distribution for a game off of the game. And it allows them to connect and have that manage their contract that's handling the token distribution. So that's already done. What we're looking to do is just acquire games, either acquire a portfolio of games from another vendor, looking to take open source games that we can tweak and reintroduce and make more fun for the community. But we're not looking to build new games and take months to do that. We're looking to deploy games as we've already deployed one now called Spot Mini. It's just hooked up single player. We'll have multiplayer later this afternoon or early morning. But all of that will become all immersive and engaging within the community. So with that in mind, we're just going to start deploying new games. We're not going to be actively spending time developing. We want this to be instant engagement, and we want the library of games to grow so that people are engaging, contesting, they're going through multiplayer, they're sharing their scores. That's how this starts to move. We're not going to take months to build games. This project would die if we were waiting months to do anything, to be honest with you. So we're looking at days and weeks in terms of our development, not months and years.
Cool. No, and turnaround time is very quick when it comes to these little, or these like mini game style, more kind of quick play type games, like you need to be able to, again, days or weeks should be kind of all that's needed, right? I've kind of laughed when a team told me it's going to take 6 months to build a basic like run jump game in crypto. I'm like, yeah, no,
Yes.
that's not happening, right? So I sometimes you just got to say it like it is, man. Honestly, like so I appreciate that answer, and I love the that you guys
Look,
understand in that space. That's kind of how you have to operate. Now, the one thing on what you had mentioned with the CA and the token distribution is I really wanted to just try and understand a little bit about how the tokens are going to interact with the games, because P2Es are often a tough
yes.
one on the sustainability side. So I just want to see what types of
Yes.
stresses come into play with those deployments happening on the gaming side.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. I've seen multi-million-dollar games go down because they couldn't get the tokenomics right. They were leveraging multiple contracts, and the ecosystem was just crazy. We know a bunch out there that has happened to over the past few years. So we are going to take probably the next week or so to discuss this. And there's two other folks we're going to involve that have a lot of experience in designing this, that have had a lot of success in designing it. So we do know the pitfalls and the shortfalls of designing that specifically. The API we've developed will just handle the token distribution. In terms of the contract setup, that's something we want to review now a little closer, since it's been about 1.5 years since we've looked at the actual design mechanics of that. But we've engaged with a couple of other folks that are very current with it. So I think we should have something in the next week that would make more sense that we can commit to. But you're right, 100%. That gets very sticky with play to earn. So today we're just doing manual contests, hooking into our databases, making sure we're putting out the earning side, just to give the flavor of what we're doing, and building up the library of games into our Gravitron game bot to kind of introduce that concept. But you've nailed it. That's a real big sticking point, and we want to make sure we get that one right.
That's a great answer too. And now within the Telegram community, because a lot of the times what we say here is, right, like people may not go in right away, buy the token and participate. They may look to just join the community and watch. And if they're able to maybe participate in some of the utilities without necessarily having to purchase the token first as a token cade, for lack of better terms, like that can be a really effective way to scale adoption. And if they see the proof in the pudding, like those individuals are more likely to buy in, and not only buy in, but buy in with actual conviction versus just off a hype. So how do you really manage or cater to those that are kind of just watching versus willing to jump in right off the?
Yeah, well, so the great thing with our model, and this is, I think, something just to really make sure people understand, we don't have to, we're not required to, run this project and to make people money, or to, provide rewards, benefits, perks, dependent on the actual tokenomics or this chart or the project itself. Everybody will be allowed to use utilities however we make them. They'll be able to install them, use them. That's all free. We're very open source minded. Where this becomes lucrative is on the publishing and advertising side, and that's really outside of this project, and which will feed back into it. So that allows us to keep everything free and open for everybody to use, because we're not needing to gate to have people commit and convict their tokens and to try things they don't have to put up, or we don't have to take fees from people. If we launch a sniper bot, we don't need to take fees. We'll have an advertising model in place that'll be circular, and it will work with the ecosystem that we're building. So that's how we're able to keep this freemium model going, and I believe how we're able to keep the project sustainable.
Again, I kind of come from like that world, so that type of model is what you want to look for to achieve. Now, what types of now it makes sense you don't want to charge fees to users, and you want to make sure to grow adoption on the user side. You put the lowest barriers to entry essentially for them. But on the project side, right, where it may be a project who's looking to deploy or work with you guys on the partnership side, like what may you charge them to advertise or integrate one of your tools into their community? Because those forums, I mean, I think you should definitely be able to make money from a business or another project off of your IP for sure.
Yeah, so anything that's leveraging data costs, serving costs, anything like that, there would obviously be some cost involved. So we would have to cover ourselves plus earn some. But we're not looking to make income through those avenues. We would be better off making various partnerships, even ones that can drive more scale to more adoption of the utilities and the other items. That's where we coming from. We find, like I mentioned, once you've got on the table and it's in place, that's where things get much more common. And I think if we're to have services and fees and expectation to hold up with support, and it's a larger business that, or a larger, I would say. So for now, consider that everything stays open for the next future, and that we're looking to for the project and for staker. That's another tier one to think through today. We've got, again, we've got APIs that we have available. We've got SDK that we've built out specific to some of the utilities that we license. They're going to be intricate discussions and detailed decisions later on once the benefit proposition is. And we'll be able to identify which we can charge based on the value that it will give somebody.
Perfect. Now, I did want to just let you know, I'm not sure if it's maybe my end or your end. There was a little bit of kind of static coming through, a bit of a broken mic towards the last 15 seconds. So I missed a little bit of your end because it was a bit sporadic for me. So if you maybe just wanted to repeat the last 10, 15, I don't know.
Yeah, I was mentioning we will absolutely revisit the fee structures based on the value we think each utility or component would provide. But first, we need to identify what that value is and what the return could be, and that will dictate what kind of service fee we're realistically able to charge.
Perfect, because I heard fees come through, but I didn't hear the specifics, so I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything important there in the last half. But I appreciate you kind of re-clarifying for me there, Igniter. Now, the really nice thing, and we didn't talk about it, but it's kind of like the intangible that you get from having a deployer tool like that is you're able to leverage not only your community, but you can leverage the community strength of those projects or those communities that maybe come across and work with Gravitron, right? So how, I guess, what's the selection process like from a community perspective? Like what types of projects or people are you looking to partner with? I think that for me is just the alignment of communities is really, really important.
Yeah. So another thing is we're not looking to have this be partnerships, right? Like Shadow and I aren't going to be doing business development. We're going to launch this open to everyone and promote it through our customer acquisition model. And like I said, Telegram's the place where we're going to be spending a lot of our time putting the deployer aspect, but it for different uses, different categories within Telegram, but it will be for anybody to take and deploy within their channels for an easy setup. And that will be connected within our hub, right? So it's like you're taking our hub, everything that we've got here connected back to Gravitron, and they can do a quick deploy. So just like WordPress, they've identified some partners that may make sense to include in their package because they are the premium ones. We like to do that as well, where there'll be a couple of gaps that we don't fill, and we'll look to identify the best partner in the space to be a part of our package, and that would go within our hub and deploy it out to whoever wants to turnkey set up their Telegram channel with the best, most engaging active utilities that are supported the proper way.
You know, it's nice because the community focus in the, the website, the light paper that you guys outline in your vision, it's come across in the conversation. I apologize if my dog's being a little bit noisy in the background there. You hear somebody in the hallway. But yeah, no, I think the alignment for me is good. I think it's nice that you guys are really focusing on community, essentially outsourcing and not on the monetary aspect, especially in the early stages. You're trying to prove that things work and the concept is there before you really scale it up. And, it's those baby steps. I think it's important. Now I did want to kind of spend more time in the deployer because it seems like a big majority of your ecosystem is based around Telegram, which I mean, great for us here at Caesars. That's where we started. But there's a larger audience, I guess, from a exposure or awareness standpoint when you're talking about Web 2 to Web 3 on Twitter. So do you guys plan on developing or scaling out some of the utilities you have on the Telegram side to connect with those that don't really understand what Telegram's all about yet and prefer to kind of keep on Twitter or Discord? Still big, but I feel a little less engaging platforms.
Well, the big thing with Telegram right now, our focus is, I feel like it is going to be the next, or is already, it's also about becoming the next Robinhood trading platform. Let's put it that way. I think the biggest adoption from all these tipping bots, from all of the utilities that are not really well connected to, but you can see that how they can all interconnect in various ways, will be the biggest platform where, if it's made to be simple, people will trade, will grow crypto in the presence of crypto in Telegram. It just needs to be a simple funnel that came from experiences, whether it's Discord and it introduced into what they're supposed to do. And that's what employer, having that channel ready so that there's a clear direction when somebody comes to that channel as to what they're supposed to do, they're supposed to use, and what it'll do for them. And that's the ultimate goal, is when employees press on your site, you're getting the best tool right away. Very easy process for someone to build a website, someone to go and build content, to go, it's all there. So that's the idea of this, is we want to use Telegram to the outside that could be confused, make it very easy for them to come in, set wallet, trade, understand, track, notify, snipe. This is the place where I feel it's going to have the most potential to be the easiest, most accessible retail traders or buyers or on lookers that are not big today. Yeah, I feel like you have a chance to build that funnel properly, just like but within Telegram, as long as we're connecting the pieces in a very sensible way.
I love I'm loving this AMA so far. Your answers are really well detailed and thought out, so makes it a little bit easier on my side. Now, a question from a community member that my admin had sent over is, especially on the whale sides, depending on where you're locating, and you're maybe having to pay capital gains or taxes on your trading. Are you guys able to maybe build out something that not only it's great for people trying to track those larger wallets, but people with those larger wallets or trading often could utilize your platform as almost a kind of a record keeping for themselves over the year to make it a little bit easier kind of come April, or whatever tax time is, wherever they live.
Yeah, exactly.
So
We'll have all the
more of like a portfolio
notifications
manager, I
on there,
guess.
like a tracker. Yep, exactly. Just like when you monitor your trade track, it'll just be dependent on data, how big that grows is what we're kind of looking at right now.
Yeah, basically, the aspect of using the wheel tracker as a portfolio manager is something that we thought about. So yeah, definitely that will be a good idea. And as it was suggested, we're taking a lot of inputs from the community to be able to add features to our existing bots or projects for sure. So yeah, glad you brought on that idea, and we will surely use it to extend the capabilities of this wheel tracker bot.
Perfect.
Is my voice better now?
Yeah. Mike's sounding a lot better. Sorry, yeah, it was just the last two times you jumped off, it was a little bit broken up, like the tail end of the one time, and then I kind of carried through to the last time you came off mute, but
That's
it seems
why
much better.
Don't buy Apple products.
I agree. I'm an Android guy, so I can't argue that fact. My girlfriend might get mad though if she heard me saying that, but that's a.
Okay. Was there anything missed?
I always joke she's in that cult. But no, I think Shadow had kind of come on and touched on it. He said that is a concept and something that you guys have already been in discussion on. And obviously, as you guys scale up and build out from your MVP, it would be something that kind of gets facilitated in. Now, I don't want to kind of jump from topic to topic, but I really wanted to spend at least 5 to 10 minutes, within this AMA deep diving your ad network, right? Because as you said, it's supposed to be a circular model, and that's going to be really the driver for sustainability and offset maybe some of the fees that you might see other projects or utilities charging. So yeah, wanted to really kind of have you guys cover off and more so introduce us to how the ad network and the whole advertising setup would work like Gtron.
Yeah. So this is really our bread and butter that we have a lot of uncommon experience in, is building ad networks and publishing networks. So there's I mean, you guys see with ETH trending, Shield trending, you can advertise through those utilities, those bots, right? They show up on Telegram, and that's how you pay for them, and you've got audiences that are connecting with them, and advertisers are getting eyeballs. Essentially, that's how we line ourselves up as well, and that's why the mass adoption through a deployer is so important. At the same time, when we're launching utilities, a utility for crypto isn't just going to be the one single factor that will start to ignite millions of users under one utility. That's why we're covering various utilities in various categories, staying in with crypto and play to earn, so that we can cover a few different categories within Telegram when we're getting the mass adoption going through our customer acquisition model. So the main piece here is that all of our ads will run within our bots, within our games, and those will all connect to a platform where advertisers can come in and see all their stats. You've seen data packages out there that, I mean, we can point to Shield trending. They have a very low staking percentage. Our idea is to provide a very high percentage of revenue sharing from our ad network back to the stakers. And we're considering an 80-20 right now, where the one factor will be on that 80-20, where 80% of the revenue will feed back to the stakers. It's insanely, I feel it's good. Again, this project for us, build a project for the community, all the projects that have ran out there. So what will happen is, depending on the cost of user acquisition in our utilities, our bots, that will dictate the revenue. If the cost per user acquisition, let's say, is 10 or 15 cents, we may adjust that so that we can keep the arbitrage model flowing, but we can buy a user out. So we'll run an advertising program, connect to all channels. We've got roughly 950 channels. We'll be connecting with another to basically launch our ad program. Should be the open start to us onboard advertiser, and no stop to advertiser. Obviously, callers exist. All of these ad networks are thriving these days. There's a lot of projects and advertisers are coming in Telegram looking for that promotion. It's always been Bing and Google and Taboola and Outbrain and RevContent and all of these big networks outside of Telegram. Well, now Telegram is becoming a very powerful just on its own. So we feel that the high revenue share and that ad network component will be kind of the cherry on top, which will be the piece making everybody a part of this community. The respect staking.
I guess in terms of the scalability, do you have? I want to go into more of like. Sorry, my dog keeps. Theo, it's okay, bud. Do you guys have like a pipeline already that you're looking at from people looking to get ads up? Like, I'm just trying to see what types of forecasts you guys are already seeing for potential revenue or profit for the ecosystem, which would obviously kick back through your staking model, the holder through the revenue program.
Yeah, no, nothing yet. I mean, we're December 6th, right? So the first move is getting utilities up, getting all the frameworks in place. So we've got all the utility bots ready to go. We have the gaming play to earn bots ready to go. We have our ad network connected. We've got the staking connected. So now it'll be refining the utilities and the play to earn mechanisms. Once we've got those done, which will be the next couple of weeks, we'll start rolling out some promotional activity to understand what the cost of our user acquisition is going to be. And at that point, we'll have an idea as to how many users we can acquire. And then from there, we can determine how many eyeballs, cost per thousand is CPM is how we would be charging this. So they would pay, let's say, 0.2 or 0.25 ETH per thousand views. Now there'll be some more research done on the actual CPM values that we charge for, but that will be, generally speaking, how we run this. You need the volume on bots first before advertisers will purchase. And that's kind of the cart before the horse. So our background in customer acquisition through leveraging these bots and the play to earn library through our Gravitron game bot is what we're banking on to get the mass adoption going, so that we get the audience built up in the initial stages over the next couple of months. And then we'll launch the ad network open to advertisers so that there's enough audience there to actually make good return on their dollar. So we've put up there that we'd like to get to 10 million users, 10 million audience views coming through, with around 1 million users coming in, interacting with our bots, and we think that's achievable.
So it would be kind of like mid to late January. People could expect some promotions to potentially get rolled out, and within that, the view targeting. How are you guys going to be able to like gauge or manage, track like the authenticity, right? Because that's a really big thing that's plagued, advertisers. I know just based on what my girlfriend does, she's worked for social media platforms, and just, botting and stuff on those views has really hurt sometimes advertisers' ability to understand real versus number on a screen that hits their targets, right? So
Yeah,
that's something.
Over the past, we've built click trackers. Obviously, there's a lot of JavaScript that can really get into the malicious of eating away advertisers' budgets. However, click tracking, looking at user agents coming through the click trackers and just making sure we're not charging clicks that are identified as coming. So some of those components need to go in place, right? That's a big piece of marketing, and weeding out those no. So luckily, our 20 years of experience in the space and buying hundreds of millions of users has built up quite a database of bad IP and user agents. So we'll be packing those in our backend as well.
Definitely give me confidence that you'll be able to kind of scale this one up just based on your past experience. And I've always said as well, with a venture that's going to take some time, passion has to be there. And yeah, like, it's pretty clear from listening to you and talking to you throughout the AMA that you do have that passion for the sector you're looking to jump into. And
Yeah, I
scaling
mean,
takes time. And yeah, I've always just said, people look at crypto sometimes or DeFi with a microscope and put it on these accelerated timelines. But if you think about anything outside of crypto, which if we're ever going to get adoption from Web 2 and the real world, we have to kind of try and walk it back to things that they can understand a little better. That if you give teams time and you see that the passion is there and the knowledge base is there, that's kind of when I'm willing to just watch and follow along. So yeah, you guys you're impressive in your knowledge for sure.
I wanted to add to what you were saying, Maurice, that we've built like literally a ton of tools to help like determining let's say traffic quality, and scoring quality of all of this traffic. So this is something like really important to us, that like the traffic we'll charge for will be genuine traffic and not like, let's say, fake traffic that people will create using bots or something like that. I think that over the years we've developed a lot of techniques that allow us to determine whether a click is like genuine or not. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do. And I think, again, with what you guys are building out, there was something else I wanted to jump into, but my computer just reset here. Oh, no. So it was something on the computer feedback side, because I think the toughest question, and I'll throw this question to you guys, and it's a tough one to answer, but I think it's the toughest question plaguing any new utility or any new, DeFi tool that launches is, well, there's a lot of tools out there, like what can you guys do that like other tools don't, or like what makes you guys stand out? Well, I think one thing you guys hit on that I'll kind of save you guys the time on the answer is experience. But I would like to say, just it's always good to have a number of different tools, and if you guys can centralize everything like we've talked about into more of a hub, well, yeah. So I just want to throw that question to you guys about, like, what would you feel is going to be your driver outside of experience, like I know you guys have a ton of, to scale this thing up?
Yeah, so the best answer I've got here is we don't have the best answer ourselves, and we've come to learn that over the last 3 weeks, which is why we're so excited for this project. We've seen the community come up with some very interesting ideas. In fact, the deployer came from a community member, which just made total sense to me when I heard he came up and said, you know what? No one else really wants to listen to me about this idea, and it hasn't really been done, but I think it might play a piece here. I was like, great, let's hear it. What do you got? He said, it's, like WordPress for Telegram. I was like, that's why haven't we thought of that? Right. So as soon as we got that feedback, that kind of put the cap on the entire project for us, giving it real purpose. And those are the types of things we're getting back from community members right now, which is so important to us, which is what will make us unique, because we're going to get some very interesting thoughts that nobody else is listening to because they all think they know what they're doing best. And we're going to take those to heart and make sure they're integrated within our plan, because those ideas are truly unique when they're somebody else's and they want to bring them to you. That's where you find a little something that is truly unique. And I think those little pieces, and why we're leveraging the polls and the staking first to determine what we build, is because we're noticing that our uniqueness will come from the community participation.
It's really cool to know that you guys have had ideas like that suggested in, because yeah, when that was definitely something that caught my eye because of the customization and convenience that can allow someone. So really cool community members it seems like you guys have there, and it's no wonder why you shouted them out very early on in your introduction. Now, three things I wanted to cover, and then I'll get maybe into some more community-driven questions. And the first one's around exposure or connection from a security standpoint. So, like, what type of risks would somebody potentially have, connecting their wallet? Do you guys have many areas where, an exploit could occur? Funds may be at risk. Again, those types of security questions is just, I think anybody who is listening for a utility project is curious about. So yeah, that's one thing.
Yeah, well, I think that, the first thing that is most important when it comes to dealing with crypto is that people need to educate themselves based on the risk that are inherent, like using a wallet. So let's say just make sure that the URL is like correct, and like, I mean, let's say take MetaMask, like it will always warn you about like what function are being used like on the contract. So when it comes to interacting with the contract, I mean, the process is pretty straightforward. When it comes to the security of the contract, then for sure our team will be inputable to that aspect of the contract of, let's say, staking or play to earn or all of those products that we're building. But this said, like, we'll make sure to have an external view on the overall process that we're lining up in terms of audits as well. And we'll just like, because as we said, like since the beginning, we're not striving to be the best one. We're striving to be the most legit one and the most secure one. But I think that like when it comes to that, you have to leverage, like, let's say, third-party experience outside of your team to make sure that all of the possible assessments can be done, like regarding security and stuff like that. Because like, as a developer, like I cannot, let's say, do the best quality insurance on my code if I don't have someone that will look over my shoulder, to make sure that what I'm doing is secure as well. But like, I mean, we'll just follow like standard good practice and make sure that, all of the funds are safe. I mean, we have people testing out like our products on the lab as well. This is one of the reason why we've limited the amounts of token to be 10,000 per wallet, like to be staked. And I mean, there are reasons for everything that we do, regarding security as well. So, but you guys can look forward for audits on all of those contracts, and we'll make sure that everything is secure for our community funds as well.
And the other thing I wanted to jump into, and thanks so much, Shadow, for giving some detail on that, is liquidity, right? Because as you guys grow to get larger people jumping in, to attract maybe larger buyers and whatnot over time, especially on the staking side, right? The better liquidity, the more comfortable people would be able to stake on those longer lock periods, which adds benefit and would likely get them more active in the project. I think it's a small percentage the tax is going to liquidity provisions, but outside of that, what other funds or revenue like splits are going back into strengthening and growing the liquidity to kind of have those benefits I mentioned earlier?
Okay, so thank you for bringing that. This is something that we've been discussing on both our community Telegram and on our core channel as well for a couple of weeks now. As we suggested, like when we first launched this project, this was more like following the trends regarding media and all of those contracts that are used. We started like with small liquidity, and like it became in something that we believe in, that and that we want to build on. So at this point, and like this is the first time that we make this announcement, Maurice, but we will do a contract migration in the next couple of weeks to accommodate the liquidity issue that we're having right now, which is like that we want to grow basically, and just be able to offer, I'd say, something that is less volatile to our community as well. So this is one of the elements that I was talking about earlier. So regarding our staking contract as well, the fact that we've renounced the contract to some extent is preventing us from building such products as well. So I think that it will all line up like to doing a contract migration over something that maybe is more compatible to our needs at this point.
Love it. So that was one of the other topics I wanted to get into. And I did want to spin back and spend, at least 5 minutes maybe per utility within what you've, released so far with the V1s, kind of walking through the features and from a trading perspective, why that would attract people to, use Gravitron and kind of interact with your tools.
Yeah. So our
sorry, I was just going to say for the whale tracker, go into things like copy trading and everything like that. And then for the swap, we'll go into the different chains and the speed and everything and fees.
Yeah. So right now, the whale tracker, again, we're just looking at ETH today through our demonstration. Again, we've got BNB, Sol, and Matic hooked up. But we're just simply looking at the transfers in and out today. But again, the next few weeks, we're looking to make these actionable insights. So that will be copy trading. That'll be notifications of increase or decrease in positions, where they've gone and when they've gone. We've got sells and buys, so you may only want to track one or the other and have those both actionable. If you're seeing somebody sell versus buy, both of those would be signaled and actionable for copy trading, both into either the bots, Maestro or Banana. Of course, when we do Solana, we can hook into BonkBot and anything else out there. We've also been very interested in coming out with our own sniper bot, which we have about 65% developed. Security being a big one there. So again, those are some of the components that we would look to put in place initially, just so that it becomes more insightful and actionable for traders to actually use. But those would be the first steps, just in and out, increase positions, and in terms of how big of a holder they are to the entire ecosystem of that project.
Perfect. Now,
Okay, so next we've got the swap.
Yeah, the swap dApp. Yeah, if you wanted to jump into that a little bit. And this one is
Shadow,
definitely intriguing. It could be another tool to help onboard people into the ecosystem and give them that first taste of what, your utilities can do.
Yeah, and that's why we wanted to have the swapped app up on our site to start, just so that we're sending people into one area where they can go become a part of the project, purchase the tokens, connect their wallets, make that process simple. We're just using a Uniswap module there, so there's nothing too sexy about it. But again, it's all about convenience and efficiency. So that's what is powering our swapped app today. Okay, so then we'll move on to the dev wallet tracker. Again, this is meant to track all of the wallets, marketing, deployer, any of the main wallets that we've seen on early blocks that may be attributed to teams. We'll have those broken out by marketing, teams, deployer, developer, and again, simple tracking to make that actionable. It'd be less for copy trading and more for awareness of what's going on. So you can think of it as bubble maps. That's being monitored constantly, and it will then notify based on any movements. So before you hear about it, something from the Telegram about somebody selling their wallet or somebody moving and not understanding what's going on, the dev wallet tracker would be your safe place to get that feedback. So you would load up a contract address, and that for the whale tracker as well. Made this so you can either track specific wallets of a project, or load up a contract address of a project and type in how many wallets you want to track, and it'll take the top, 150 wallets, whatever you want, and it will monitor those top wallets so that you don't have to go and you can choose every single small wallet. If you just want to go and launch a complete project and say, hey, let's track the top items that are flowing in and out, then you can just quickly go and do that instead of trying to go into either Scan or BSC and try to get those wallets, take the addresses, put them into the bot. That kind of a nightmare. So if you already have wallets that you've been tracking, cool. If you don't, you can just pop in the contract address of that project, and it will set itself to monitor the top wallets so that you don't have to do that and picky job of selecting the wallets yourself.
No, and this was something I kind of mentioned in my intro that I really liked, because, a couple of things I wanted to specifically ask about in the dev wallet tracker is on the alert side. Similar to how, if you pull up a chart on Dex tools sometimes and it gives you that notification like team sold tokens, right? Would that be
Yes.
one of the alerts somebody could build in and,
Exactly.
allow themselves, although, I mean, it's not great if you get the alert saying, hey, the team sold, but what it does is allow you to at least check out the community. And instead of maybe panic selling, which, some people may do to minimize their loss, what you could do in that situation is go into the community, see what the vibe is like. Because what we have seen successful community takeovers in the past where if, they're able to receive the contract, maybe the dev drops the keys to somebody, or at least gives some marketing funds, or, people maybe have some early bags, they're able to liquidate some to put, we've seen community takeovers work. So
Yes.
instead of having to just like panic sell it, what it would be really cool is if you guys have that direct link through the tool, or because it's already in Telegram, being able to just like in the same app, go right there, check out the community. And yeah, so that one for me is a super handy feature. And the one that I also wanted to talk about, sorry, my laptop's almost dead, is the risk mitigation one. So what types of risks are you guys talking about? Is this like similar to what a
Exactly what you just
checksum
mentioned.
would be, or would that be like the more so token cells and whatnot?
Yeah, so exactly what you mentioned, and that's precisely what we're trying to do. So copy trading can really screw a lot of people up, right? I mean, it's cool to have to say, hey, something else happens, let's just go copy it. But there's usually a story behind that or a reason, right? So this is really meant, just like you pointed out, to signal and to give an idea as to what's happening, so that no one needs to panic. But there'll be cross checks and cross references, like you said. There could be, somewhat like a checksum, but it would be a good signal as to what's going on versus a copy trade signal. You get what I'm saying there? This is to really paint the picture as to what's going on with those transfers in those wallets to allow you to understand versus panic sell.
And again, I think sometimes in this space there's and I get it. Like things move so quickly. Sometimes you feel like if you don't act quick, you may get left behind, but a lot of the times I feel like there's overreactions to situations, and it can have, even a way bigger detriment on a project or a community, that if people just took 5 minutes, took a breath and then assessed or looked at what was happening and made their decision from there. So that, those tools are really cool. And, one thing I wanted to touch on that I don't know if has maybe been brought up, but you guys have a unique opportunity in terms of how you position yourself as a brand at Gravitron through this in your almost what would be the best way, in the way that you like you've referenced Shield a few times, and I'll use this as a comparative, in the way that Shield gets a ton of like recognition and has a good reputation in the space because of all the communities and the exposure that it gets, and that's how they've really built out their own brand. You guys could, as Gravitron, really gain a lot of trust with projects, and it could almost become like how shields become a good signal for a meme community because it shows
Yeah.
that they're active and trying to do things. You guys could become like almost that bullish signal that if a dev were to implement your bot into their own project to track and show people like, hey, this is what we're doing, see it real time happen like that. If you guys get to that point and almost leverage that, that could be like a bullish selling feature for you as a trust factor around communities. And what will happen is the same way people would go into communities for meme projects being like, yo, you should get Shield, they're awesome for rating and whatnot. People will go in and be like, yo, you guys should get the Gravitron bot in here and make it so we can track actively and keep the tabs on the team. So yeah, that's
Exactly.
something I just wanted to bring up.
So you've basically just summed up the entire project. the deployer is what that's for, right? If a Telegram channel or a dev or an owner wants to be legit, our package will have included the best utilities that will provide the safest environment for a project to exist, right? And we'll ask ourselves, why aren't these utilities in this Telegram channel, right? Because it's so easy to go and just do a turnkey setup using the Gravitron deployer and making sure the best utilities are a part of that package. And like you said, that could include the shields, that could include Spy DeFi, that could include other partners that we have so much respect for, that they've built great utilities and great tools. These aren't things that we want to go compete against. I use the term co-opetition instead of a competition, because I see that we are in a space, it's very small, and there's been individuals and teams that have built really great technology. We don't need to go and compete against that, right? But as long as we have our framework and our ground frames all layered and all set up, then we can start to pull all of these together, and it will help scale everybody, plus make a safer place and a more legit environment for a project or a dev to launch their Telegram, which would then speak to the community in a much quicker way versus the community needed to try and figure out what's what. They know that they're in a Telegram channel that's been deployed through the Gravitron deployer bot and it's managed that way. They'll have access to all those utilities in every one of those channels, and they'll be able to do their research just like they would otherwise.
I like that a lot, for sure. That for me is a really cool feature. And like I said, if you guys can get to the point where community members or people that like your utility because they've interacted with it and they see the value, start to go into other projects, because that's the nice thing about this space is it is very open. Like, it's not often that one person holds just one or two projects. People often spread it around, they get active, they join different communities. So that trickle down or word of mouth is very powerful, I feel like, in crypto, whereas it may have lost some of the effect in the real world prior to, obviously social media and stuff like that has helped with the, some of these videos going viral. But yeah, no, really cool. I love that aspect. One question here from a community member from Raise, he's an OG out here, is the P2E rewards pool. He missed a little bit of the earlier presentation. Was just wondering if you could run through where exactly it's going to be brought in from within the advertising model, and will the staked players get any increased earning potentials with the P2Es versus unstaked players in the ecosystem? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, for sure. So we weren't even planning to launch any of the games or the bots until mid-January. We just thought we would do that this past week. We had some time, and like I said, we've got some things developed. So we had a few hours to put together the databases, APIs, and to get that out. Yeah, we'll release more information about the specifics on how stakers will benefit from the play to earn. Again, we need to look at the tokenomics and how the contracts interact with our play to earn. So we're looking closely at that. As I mentioned, we've got a couple of individuals that we're in touch with right now, discussing how those contracts will be designed. Once that happens, we'll have some very specific information on the staking advantages and the play to earn reward system. Again, that will be heavily determined. Rewards through play to earn will be heavily determined on the advertising revenue coming through them. There's otherwise no revenue models through those games. We're not doing in-game items. We're not doing NFTs related to them in-game today. Those are all possibilities, but we're just keeping our roadmap very actionable for this period right now, just to get these first items out. But yes, that will be looked at and considered and posted, I'd say, in the next 3 weeks, next 2 to 3 weeks, for play to earn. Right now, we're launching some contests just with Spot Mini and getting our Gravitron game bot, in-app Telegram bot kind of primed up, getting the community used to how it functions. We're adding in a high scoring mechanism. Our databases are going to be connecting through to our staking platform, which will feed back into Telegram, so we can give real-time feedback in terms of the games, the competitions. We're releasing multiplayer. We thought we'd get it out today, but this is taking a little longer than we thought. So likely by early next week, Monday, Tuesday, we'll have multiplayer and that framework built out as well. So all of our games that come up will say single player, multiplayer. We'll have different reward system for multiplayer than we will single player, and we'll layer on top the staking bonus modifier as part of the model as well. So more to come on that soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the question, Rays. And then from me, I guess one thing I wanted to ask is what can people expect? I know you mentioned a few of these things dropping in the next couple of weeks, and you're going to keep adding information and data into the MVP so that you guys have a better picture. Keep taking community feedback. But what's around the corner from maybe a marketing or updates perspective over the next couple of weeks? And I think for most people in the space, 2024 has a pretty bullish sentiment around it, and what are you guys doing to kind of kick off the year in style? And then I'll maybe get 1 or 2 community questions in, and then if you guys have anything else we missed, obviously feel free to share. But I think we've done a pretty detailed coverage, and really enjoyed it so far, guys. So thank you for the extra time.
Likewise. So to kick off the new year, I mean, Elevate Connections, I think he's on here somewhere, but he's been keeping us on our toes. So that's been really great for this project. He's been a huge help. We appreciate it very much, and he's been bringing many opportunities our way, and he's been very committed to helping pave that road. So I think in terms of marketing, you've got one of the best guys on this team working for the community, working for Caesar's community. And I think the best thing to do is to have everyone in Telegram and be tuned in to the updates as they come, because we're actively posting up polls now that will have real decision-making impact moving forward. The first couple of polls we just put up to put up, as I was saying. So I think everyone just wants to get together. You're going to have to pick your convictions for 2024. There's a lot of noise in the space. I think we're going to have to do a good job in staying tight together and understanding how the space moves together. I think Caesar's, Maurice, you and all the crew do a fantastic job at alerting the community, at keeping everyone real and keeping the opportunities open for everyone to join in on. And I think that's what I want to echo, is that our Telegram room will continue to flourish with opportunities. That's the best place right now to get those updates through Twitter, through Telegram, be a part of the polls and the staking. And then you'll see our team. We're going to continue to grow our team. We have a lot of outside help that has been DMing us on the programming side, the marketing side, content side. So I think we're putting together a big plan, just like you guys are at Caesars as well, for 2024, how to organize the year properly. I think we've had a couple of months now to see how things need to be organized. So now's the time to get ready for that new year, so that we're executing, delivering all the utilities, taking some really great feedback from the community members, and starting to deliver on those specific items as fast as we can. Once we do that, I think we start smooth sailing. The rest of the projects on the peripheral sides will start to kind of drown themselves out. And I think we're going to continue pushing forward with Gravitron and hopefully the Caesars community and many other communities out there.
Again, really big fan of the presentation. I got to call the man up. He threw his hand up. I got to give him a chance to jump on.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to touch a little bit more on the advertising piece, and that being such a vital component of your project. From what I've seen with projects using advertisements in their bots, especially with Telegram bots, they don't have much of a credibility, and it's a perception thing. It can change at any time, but most of the projects in the past who have had Telegram-based bots, they have used the advertising space as as a cash grab. They let anybody that wants to advertise in, as long as they're making money. They don't really care about the quality of the project that is being advertised. And because of that, the credibility of these ads has been lost. Like if I speak about myself, I have never really ever clicked on an ad that is being shown on any of the TG bots and then discovered a great project that way, right? And I don't even click on some of these, on these ads, because in my head, these are not going to be great projects. They're going to be scams. I just don't have a lot of confidence in these ads. So how do you then take that current perception of the Telegram community and change it around? Because it is a business and you have to generate revenue, but at the same time, if you start accepting ads from any Tom, Dick, and Harry, then people are just going to stop clicking on those ads, and it's that thing. So how do you really need to vet your project before you accept them, to be shown on your bots and stuff like that. So how do you approach that?
So what we've done in the past is we've built various categories. So let's say that we know certain channels that let's say that I don't know, let's use OX Nude, right? OX Nude. That's let's say an R-rated community. So there will be certain advertisers that will do very well and will be looking for not safe for work audiences. So we'll have a place for them. There'll be people looking for evergreen PG-13 type channels and opportunities. So we'll have categories for those advertisers. So I think segmenting your audiences and according to how the advertisers require those audiences is kind of the first step to negating that, just making sure that that the right ads are shown to the right channels and the right users. Ultimately, every advertiser has a different need or a different use case. So we don't necessarily want to restrict advertisers, but we just want to make sure they're being shown in the right places, if that makes sense. From there, we really look at maintaining high click-through rates, looking at which channels specifically in our data come back with very low engagement rates. And we can start to put in block lists to make the advertisers value and return on investment a lot greater. And that's how we'll start to scale. Like you said, it can really dilute the advertiser base, and it can really dilute your audience and the users on the bots if you get those malicious ads coming through that don't do good and that have the wrong perception. It can really crush the model. So I'm very aligned with your thought process, but that's generally how we would segment out the audiences with the advertisers, making sure that the targeting and the messaging shows up in the right places appropriately.
Nice. I like that thought process and how you want to segment it and not bombard everyone with everything. But as a free user of your bots, would I as a user have the option of opting into what I want to see, or can I choose my areas of interest so I'm only shown ads which align with my interests?
Today we wouldn't have that feature. That's an interesting one to deploy, one that's available in other ad networks that we have as well. But today in this space, we have not created that technology, but I like the thought behind it. So that's one to consider for sure.
Yeah, and maybe not for free users, maybe for users who hold a certain amount of tokens or
power users. Yep.
Power users. Yeah, exactly. Good answers, I think. Again, it's like I was saying, it's not an easy thing to crack because of the perception around it. But if done properly and if enough time and vetting is spent behind, accepting and directing the ads to the right people, then I think it can work, because the Telegram user base is increasing by the day, and so
yeah, I mean,
definitely a market to capture.
Absolutely, that's where our head is at. Is the market is growing. Telegram is becoming so accessible. And it's, in my firm belief, it is the future of trading and the future of crypto for the next year at least, just with its growth trend. And like I said, we're not reinventing the wheel. We've managed hundreds of thousands of publishers under ad networks in the past, and know how they segment and what metrics to look for to ensure safety around advertisers and the users. Again, we haven't played in the Telegram space per se specifically, but we know the confines of what Telegram can bring to us and how we need to protect both sides of the publishing and the advertising for the model to work. So you're right, it's a very intricate, complex model to operate, but we're not reinventing the wheel here. So we're just going to employ what we've done in the past.
Well, thanks, Sue. And again, we've talked about it so many times in here with these AMAs. Perception is sometimes like half the battle, right? And it's unfortunate to be, sometimes a later mover, not in the sense of the tech or anything like that, but just, not the first project to launch on a blockchain, right? Because there's been so many that, don't do things right or leave those false promises. So perception, I always say, is one of the hardest things to overcome. But yeah, really love the back and forth there, guys. And we'll throw it here. If Elevate's in, if his mic's working, I see him back up on the top. We'll give him a couple of minutes if he wanted to jump on and say anything. Again, him and I go way back. And if not, we could always get Nita up here. Yo, what's going on? Happy to see you. Hope you're, had a good holidays and looking forward to the new year. But yeah, no, it's nice to see you, with this team. And I know you've been telling me about this one. He was very adamant that the AMA was going to be really, really solid and did not disappoint. You get a bunch of Canadians in a room together and good things happen. That's what I always say.
Yeah, man, I knew you guys would vibe pretty well. Yeah, like you said, we've worked on some pretty large scale projects, and I got brought on a couple weeks ago, I think, by somebody in the private chat, and they told me to jump in there and talk to the devs. And we jumped on a call pretty fast, and I figured out that I should definitely get involved. And then I thought about bringing you along with the Canadian vibes. So yeah, I hope everybody had a good Christmas and is going to have a good New Year. And I'm excited to push this and see where we can take it. And I think with Igniter and Shadow and the rest of the team, anything's possible. And yeah, Maurice, love you, man.
Likewise, brother. And again, I'm excited to see what these guys are able to do. I said it in the private group, during the AMA, like really impressed me. Definitely one you got to give time to let do their thing, because they seem like they have good heads on their shoulders, and that's important in this space. So with somebody like you and the connections you have, to try and help them out and push them in the right direction from the crypto side. Yeah, very excited. So, recommended, jump in, check out their community. A couple of their MVP utilities are live. You guys can kind of get a feel for them. And, I can't wait to see till the developer, wallet tracker drops, because again, I think that could be a catalyst as a, way to gain community traction and trust too, just around other places. So yeah, a lot of positives. But Nita, if you are ready, Nita, we can let you kind of jump in there for your question. You've always had some good ones in the past, so I wanted to give you the chance. It's been a while.
Yeah, thank you, Maurice. Considering the AI's tracking capability, will it be designed to recognize and report glitches in wallets, particularly those associated with deceptive pumps and dumps? Can investor expect alerts regarding such occurrences?
She was kind of asking about like wallet or volume manipulation. Like, how sometimes people will transfer large amounts into a wallet to try and almost create false FOMO on a project and then buy a big amount just to turn around after the volume kind of trickles in after them and dump it on top. And it kind of kills the project. So she was wondering, like, those types of volume based manipulations, like what the process or the tracking would look like, and how you could maybe receive alerts for that.
You guys are almost like 6 steps ahead of me. So a little while ago, we built something called the float tracker, which was essentially just that, looking at who was running floats on projects and understanding when those floats were going to stop or what was left or how it was connected. So I think that's similar to what you're talking about with the volume and how that's running in projects, but correct me if I'm wrong. It will look at the float runs. So in terms of large volume and who's controlling that volume, that is a big piece of what we look at internally when we're eyeing out projects, large ones. Usually there's a couple of groups, one specifically that will run large floats to keep the volume going. So yeah, that would be a piece of the dev wallet tracker, or we may have a third, which would be called the float tracker. But that's kind of where we're at right now with the concept. We do have the volume piece built out. We've used it ourselves. We just haven't built it for a utility for ETH over on the Gravitron side yet.
But no, really good question. Again, I actually DM'd Buck after you asked, and I was like, man, Nita's really impressive. I remember some of your earlier questions when you first joined in AMAs, like last year it was, and yeah, really good. I love seeing the community's like knowledge level and like what to look for, and kind of identify trends in a project and where they could go. That's really cool. So great work to you, Nita, and yeah, Sue is always solid too. Just yeah. So Man, from my end, I think what is it? It's going to be about an hour and 40 minutes on the recording, maybe an hour 45 after we do closing statements. I do like to try and keep them to 90 minutes just for like listen playback purposes. But, when you have good content, good questions, you can't cut it short. So I just want to say, thank you to everybody in the community who sent some questions to Buck. I did work some of those in throughout. And then, to Sue and Nita who jumped in on the back end. I really do appreciate it. Elevate, love to see you out, man, and helping these guys. And both to Igniter as well as Shadow. Like I said, seemed like you guys have really good heads on your shoulders. I understand these things aren't going to happen overnight. I understand they take time to kind of scale up, but I like what you guys have laid out for us. Some of the, benefits to community, benefits to the space that, can be utilized with the tools and the bots are good. So, if you get the right eyes on them, the awareness built, you never know, man. So, from my end, great AMA. I'll definitely be watching this one closely. I know we're going to be hopefully bringing you guys to a few different spaces in the future and just, helping with some of that, cross exposure. But I'll pass you the mic to close out, and just great job. Everybody check out the community one last time, do that research, use some of the tools, and yeah, great job.
Yeah, I think we'll just echo that as well. Thank you very much, Maurice. You guys have been great hosting us. A lot of great questions from the community. We appreciate hearing from a lot of you out there. All I can say at this point is just join our community. Stay tuned in. Maurice, Caesar, Elevate. Lots of folks will be kind of keeping up to date. So I'm sure we'll keep everyone up to date, regardless if they're in our channel or other channels. You'll hear about it. But please join us. Keep in tune. Join Gravitron, and we'll keep delivering.
Thanks a lot for having us today.
100%. And once that developer tracker goes live, I'd mentioned I was just DMing Elevate. Just I'll definitely help, try and get that some exposure in different communities. And like we said, it could be a great catalyst, I think, for you guys to gain some of that recognition, brand awareness. So till next time, not goodbye. And, it was a pleasure hosting you. Have a great weekend, enjoy your New Year's, happy New Year to both of you guys. It seems like you both got families over there. So, enjoy the time with the little ones. Hopefully you can get them to bed before midnight so you can at least enjoy some peace and quiet with the significant other. But yeah, great job. And we'll definitely be in touch in DMs, and I'll see you guys next Thursday on that space.
Wonderful. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Talk to everyone soon.
Awesome. Take care, boys.